These are the materials that I'll be using. I have this invincible zipper, also 8 pieces of these molded buttons. I have my red crepe 2.5 yards. The off-white crepe is also 2.5 yards. I have this shoulder part. I'll be trimming it to a smaller size before attaching it to my dress. I'll go ahead and mark my start line. I'll be marking 1/2 inch at the top there, and I'll rule my line, a straight line. I'll go on and take my vertical measurements. The bust point I'm working with is 11.5 inches. The waist point is 17 inches. I'll be adding 1 inch for sewing allowance, making it 18 inches. I'll rule a straight line across this point. I'll go on and take my shoulder measurement. I'm working with shoulder of 16 inches divided by 2, which is 8 inches. And I'll add 1/2 inch for my sewing allowance. I'll go on and take my neck width of 3.5 inches and the neck depth is 6.5 inches. I'll connect my dots. The V neckline is not a sharp V, so I'm going to give it a bit of a curve. I'll come to my shoulder point and I'll come down by 1 inch to create my shoulder slant. I'll rule a line across, connecting to the neck width. I'll go on and take my armhole depth of 8 inches. To achieve this, divide your bust measurement by 6 and add 1.5 inches. So I'll be ruling a straight line connecting and I'll rule another line across. I'll get the midpoint of my armhole depth, which is 4 inches. At that 4 inches point, I'll come inward by 1/2 inch. And I'll also take my round bust measurement, which is 39 inches divided by 4. And I'm going to connect the point from the shoulder point to the 1/2 inch point I came in by down to the round bust point, just like this. I'll go on and label my lines. I have the chest line, I have my bust point, and I have my waist line. Alright, I'll go on and take my round waist measurement, which is 33 inches divided by 4. Alright, we've already taken the bust measurement. Then I'll go on and add sewing allowance of 2 inches at the bust and also at the waist. I'll rule a straight line connecting this point. The next thing I'll be doing is to mark out my front dart, which is the difference between my front waist measurement and my back waist measurement. Before that, I'm going to mark out my front dart line at the bust point, which is 1 nipple to another nipple divided by 2. Mine is 8 inches divided by 2 is 4 inches. I went ahead to still extend it outward by 1 inch. That's because I don't want the bust dart, when sewing it, I don't want it to start exactly at the nipple point. Now my front waist measurement is 17 inches and the back waist measurement is 15.5 inches. So the difference is 1.5 inches. I came down at that point by 1.5 inches and I'll rule a line connecting to that dart point that I marked there. I'm going to be cutting out this and I'll also leave sewing allowance before cutting it out. Next, I'll go over to my shoulder and mark out my shoulder allowance, sewing allowance at that point. And I'll go on and cut out. If you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please do subscribe, like, share our videos, turn on your post notification bell so you're updated whenever I upload a new video, because we have interesting tutorials coming your way. The sewing tutorial for this particular pattern will be going up on Sunday. You won't want to miss that, so stay connected. So at the bust dart, I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch at the top and at the bottom part. I'm just trying to create my sewing allowance at this point so I don't take too much from my fabric. Remember, we are trying to work with just 1.5 inches. I'll be cutting out the 1/2 inch that is left in the middle. while the 1/2 inch at the top and at the bottom is what I'll be sewing together to create our bust dart. I'll go ahead and draft out the back pattern. I've left 1/2 inch at the top to serve as the start line, which is also the shoulder line. I also left 2 inches as a zipper allowance. I placed my tape at the shoulder point to mark out the back waist measurement, which is 15.5. I went ahead to add 1 inch for our sewing allowance, making it 16.5. I'm going to roll a straight line across the points. Next is to take my shoulder measurement of 16 inches divided by 2, which is 8 inches plus 1/2 inch for sewing allowance, and the neck width remained the same with the front, which is 3.5 inches, while the neck depth for the back is 1 inch. I'll connect a line and create my curve. I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. I'll create a line, mark a line at that point, and also take my armhole depth, which is 8 inches. So I have the waistline and the chest line. I'll create my armhole curve for the back. I'll curve it just like this. I'll take my round bust measurement, 39 inches divided by 4. I'll mark it right there and add 2 inches for sewing allowance. I'll also divide my waist measurement of 33 inches divided by 4 plus 2 inches for sewing allowance. After this, I'm going to be eliminating zipper bulge. To do that, I'll come to my zipper allowance and I'll go in by 0.75 inches, which I'll connect upward like this. Then I'll create a new zipper allowance at the waist, just like this. I'll mark out 2 inches like this, creating a new zipper allowance, and I'll go on and rule a line connecting the dots. So I marked 2 inches at that point, replacing what I took. I'm going to cut out the 0.75 inches that I took there, and I'll be replacing that 0.75 inches at this part of the waistline so that we don't run short of fabric. Remember to replace the 0.75 inches. I'll go on and cut out. We are done with the back pattern, literally. Also, I'll be adding my shoulder allowance there. So watch carefully how I'm cutting out so you don't mess yours up. I'll be drafting out the down parts of the dress. I marked 1/2 inch at the top, which will serve as a starting line as well as the waistline. From that waistline, I came down by 8.5 inches as my hip point. I'll go on and roll a straight line connecting the points. And next, I'll take the length of the dress. The full length of the dress is 40 inches. So minus 17 inches for the top. I have like 23 inches left. And I'll be adding sewing allowance of 2 inches. So now I'll take my round waist measurement of 33 inches divided by 4. I'll mark it there. My round hip measurement is 41 inches divided by 4. I'll also go ahead and mark it at that point. I'll go over to the waist and add 2 inches for sewing allowance. And at the hip, I'll also be adding 2 inches for sewing allowance. And again, I will add another 3 inches at the hip to serve as the hip extension, because the dress we are working on is not fitted at the hip part. You could see it extends out, giving it a particular shape. Now I'm going to connect from the waistline to the hip line, the hip extension. And from that point, from that hip point, I'll be extending it down to the hem of our dress. All right, let me use my curve rule to eliminate any sharp edge that will want to be created here. So I'll go on and connect it all the way down to the hem of our dress. This is what we have. Please ignore the new line you're seeing there. I'll be removing that later. It's really not necessary. All right, so at the hem of the dress, I'll be going up by 1 inch. This is to eliminate pointed edge at that point. So I'll go up by 1 inch and I'll blend it into the rest part of the hem just like this. And I'm going to cut it out. So now we'll go on to draft our collar. To draft the collar, you're going to measure your collar, the neckline of your collar, from the point that the collar is going to start from to where it's going to end. So I'm placing my tape and I'm taking it all around to the back part. The collar is only on one part of the neckline. So I have 14 inches after taking my measurement. I have my pattern paper here, and I'm going to be marking out that 14 inches, but I'll be dividing it into 2 because I have my pattern paper on fold. I folded it into 2 like this. So the 14 inches, I'll be dividing it into 2, which will give me 7 inches. I'll go on and mark 7 inches at this point. And then I'm going to mark 1/2 inch for my sewing allowance. Now after this, I'm going to be ruling a straight line, but I'll leave a bit of space at the bottom part there, which will serve as sewing allowance later. So I'll be ruling my straight line like this. At that 7 inches point, I'm going to be extending it out by 2 inches. Okay, because there is an extension of the collar. If you look at the dress we are working on, you will see that there's an extension. So I'm extending it out by 2 inches. Next is for me to take the wideness of the collar. At that point, I'm going to take 2 inches for the wideness, and at this ending point, I'll be making it 4 inches. So I'll be marking out 4 inches at that point, and I'll be connecting my dots. I'll really like connecting the dots this way. And then at the upper part, I'll still go ahead to extend that place out by 1 inch. Then I'll rule a slanted line connecting the upper line to the line below. This is what we have. Next is to go on and add our sewing allowance at the sides. I'll be using 1/2 inch to add my sewing allowance at the top part and at the down parts of our collar. I'll connect all the dots with a line. Then at the down parts of the collar, I'll be going up by 1/2 inch. Alright, this is to create a bit of curve because the neckline is not straight. So if you want it to blend in very well, the collar to blend in very well with the neckline, you need to do this. So I'll be going up by 1/2 inch and I'll be curving it into the remaining parts of the collar. The down part is where we'll be attaching to the neckline of our dress. So you need to do this so it can blend in to the neckline of your dress properly, okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. After cutting out, this is what we have. This is what our collar is looking like. I'll take it to the, so that part is where we'll be placing to the neckline, all right, the shorter part. Now I'm going to be cutting out, remember the 2 inches extension that I added to the collar. It does not apply to the back part of our collar, all right? It's only in the front part that we have that extension. So I'm going to be removing that 2 inches from the back part of the collar. Now, instead of me following this, following it like this, I'm going to bend my ruler this way. Go on and do it the way you see me doing on the screen. Bend your ruler this way and mark out your line. This is how you're going to be cutting out the back part of the collar. If you don't do this, your collar at the back is going to be pointing outward. All right, so this is going to keep it in place and lying well. This is what we have. If you want it bigger when cutting it on your fabric, you can make it bigger, longer at that part, just like the front is longer. I'll be dropping a link to a basic sleeve pattern in the description box. But in the sewing tutorial, that's where I will explain how I was able to modify the sleeve to look like this. So this is what ours look like. This is what mine is looking like. Stay tuned and keep your fingers crossed for the sewing tutorial, which will be going up on Sunday. You see step by step of how I achieved this.